triple DPS, but quad DPS is something else entirely, and it can be difficult with just the one healer. But Mercy's quite strong, so hopefully they will make it work. And they're running into a Batiste bunker, and I love this. It's a Junkrat Batiste bunker, and hopefully this is going to work out exactly as they hope it will. The Batiste can actually help to deal with the Pharah, which I think is a very interesting way to look at this composition.
But that's not how you start out that bunker, allowing Dallas to go in there and play pinball into your bunker composition. I mean, that's just opening up a massive opportunity when everybody gets split on Unknown Esports Blaze. Manhattan Project's going in guns a-blazing.
Manhattan Project, I mean, so Unknown Esports had to back out after that pile drive. They had to move back into Cafe, and Ridder has literally killed everyone on their team. Ridder has gotten the final blow on every single person on the enemy team except for that baby D.Va. So you do not want to be caught out in that Cafe. That's the last place you want to be, especially when you're coming up against the Pharah. And now, Ridder is already 94% of the way to that ultimate, but it looks like... Is this a swap-off I see? Yes,
Wow.
it is indeed. We are moving on to the Winston Goats composition, and this is how they're going to be utilizing that high ground, because the Winston can jump and dive and do very interesting things with his jetpack, and that's exactly what they're going to do, heading up onto the high ground to deal with an interesting dive that was brought forward in answer to the quad DPS, and they really should have expected the quad DPS to swap off onto Goats, but unfortunately they got pulled into the trap. They're on this dive composition, and of course we know that Goats is a quite strong counter to dive, but let's see, maybe they can turn it around.
Well, the Zarya is doing immense amount of works on the Manhattan Project to keep the front line of Manhattan alive, which means that D.Va and Winston can kind of go in and wreak havoc onto the DPS heroes of Unknown Esports. It will be Massblake finding the first brunt of that damage here. Ridder popping off yet again.
Oh my
so much
word.
follow-up between those supports and that tank duo there.
Ridder is so good, but I cannot overemphasize how his team is creating space for him to pop off. They create so much chaos in the backline, so much confusion, and Ridder just like dives around, whether it be on Pharah, whether it be on D.Va, it doesn't matter. He just flies around and gets those final picks, and there you have it. They win these fights with relative ease, and now they are going to push Unknown Esports quite far back as they wait for the payload to start rolling forward. They're really looking incredibly dominant here, but we have seen the swap off onto a Mirror Goats here with the Reinhardt instead of a Winston. So hopefully they start to make some kind of a dent in this attacking team, because at the moment things are looking dire.
Well, I mean, with a high charge Zarya and Massblake, that's one way to start making a dent in the offensive pressure of the Manhattan Project, but look at that ultimate economy.
You're right, like 5 ultimates, about to be 6 for the Manhattan Project. They have a massive advantage here. Thankfully, there is still time for Unknown Esports to start building up some ultimates of their own. And in fact, they do have 3 ultimates online at the moment.
Support ultimates online, but Dallas is going to make a swap off the Winston here to be able to battle out with brute force against Zakir, the opposing Reinhardt on Unknown Esports Blaze. But here we've got ultimates starting to get there. There's that enabling ultimate within the Breeding Rally, and here's the support ultimates right on top of that grab bomb combo. But that charge into that ball enabled that D.Va bomb combo to play off so well. Holy cow.
We've said enabling. I mean, that is enabling is the word of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Enabling. And cannot stress enough how that charge creates so much space for that D.Va bomb to just absolutely wreck. And of course, we've still got 3-4 ultimates online here for Unknown Esports. They can still win this next fight, but the grab may change that.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a little bit of a toast to your own medicine here with what the Manhattan Project was trying to dish out. But Unknown Esports Blaze was ready, but they weren't ready for that Earth Shatter, that's for sure. Because that Earth Shatter is going to get a lot of the members down on the side of Unknown Esports Blaze. And this card's going to start rolling again for the Manhattan Project.
I think the swap off onto the Winston was definitely a good idea. You know, I spoke about how there aren't too many high grounds, and yes, you can farm some ult charge off of the armor on some of the heroes here, but the Reinhardt, the sheer power and aggression, the forceful shield that comes with it, and the play with the Zarya, making sure that you guys are working together as a unit, it can't be overstated. That Earth Shatter absolutely won them that fight, but here we go for the second engage.
Yeah, that second engagement is going to be a tricky one here for the Manhattan Project, but that's one way to open it up by taking that shield out of the way. Unknown Esports Blaze is going to have to back off here because they don't have the damage mitigation anymore or the AoE healing pressure to be able to get into people's faces. You're going to see Zealot kind of, you know, just give their life to the Manhattan Project here as they continue to move towards spawn. You've got all of the assets in the Manhattan Project pocket getting utilized here. Let's just secure them the point, and that's going to be the end of round 1.
That was such a good play, swapping that Reinhardt. Very well played there. And I mean, even in the second fight, you know, they had. Then they should be able to push on through. Of course, Batiste there for a lot of AoE burst healing. Okay, turret mode. But hopefully they are able to pull that through.
I mean, Unknown Esports Blaze is going for a similar approach. You've got Zakir primed and ready within the back line, just waiting for the front line of Unknown Esports Blaze to make it to a point where they can kind of do things, but they get caught out. Not only does Sponge get the damage they need to, but Ritter, again, doing exactly what you want to see Junkrat's doing in a bunker composition like this, and Unknown Esports has to go back to the drawing board and figure out how they're going to break this defense.
Yeah, unfortunate. The amount of spam damage from the Junkrat and the Bastion, it's so difficult to deal with. And of course that Orisa shield just creating so many problems, and it's angled so well. They are slowly chipping away at the health of that shield, but the cooldown is so short. This Orisa is not even remotely phased, but here we go. Oh, misses the pile drive, Necra.
I know that missed pile drive actually acts as a little bit of a distraction, but not enough to be able to get Manhattan Project out of their beautiful kind of stronghold that they've created here. And again, easy pickings for them as we look at how much damage they're putting into Unknown Esports Blaze.
I'll be honest with you, the best thing that Unknown Esports Blaze can do right now is go Goats. And if they come in, now, there's a very particular rotation. They need to rotate all the way around the back of Cafe. But if they can do that, if they can rotate around and aggress up out of line of sight of the Bastion, then they will very easily be able to take this point. But it looks like they are going to continue on with this DPS composition. They saw it work when they were on defense, so hopefully it'll work for them. It's not quite coming to fruition, but they've still got some time. They've got 2 minutes on the clock here. They've got an EMP, and if they can get that EMP out, then that creates a massive opportunity for them. And there it is.
Oh yeah, that EMP is going to open up a massive way gate for Unknown Esports Blaze to get in there and do their job here. A last effort tire here coming out from the Manhattan Project is going to try to save something, but gets taken out by Quantum, meaning that all of the pressure that Unknown Esports Blaze was able to put out is going to come to fruition here. And Manhattan Project is going to be in a big pinch right now as they kind of back up to come back in.
Now, it was definitely worth to be able to use that EMP, but the amount of time that it took them to take that point, that's time that's being chipped away off of their final time bank. So they're really going to need to try and barrel through the streets phase as quickly as possible. And unlike Manhattan Project, they've opted not to swap off straight onto Goats, but to keep some of their ultimates and possibly use them for their advantage. This means that it slows down. If they do eventually swap onto Goats, it slows down any potential ult charge. So let's see. Maybe they can do something with it.
I mean, that's Fire Barrage is one way to open things up. We'll take out the main tank in Dallas from the Manhattan Project. Without that bubble, you do have less defense here, but clapping back here with a Diva Bomb going in, barely misses getting a chance to take out Quantum and Zealot in the back line. But Manhattan Project's defense is still going on strong here. Not Red Shell's doing a phenomenal job of keeping the team alive, and Baptiste coming out with yet another ultimate that we just saw moments ago. Unknown Esports Blaze trying to maintain their aggression here, now coming out with the Transcendence because they want to be able to get some momentum back on the start, and I think they're finally able to do that with the extra sustain that came online. They've got the numbers advantage here. They need to be able to deny the resurrection here. But Manhattan Project backing off to come back to try to recontest again.
And what a monkey of a fight, excuse the pun. So many ultimates coming through there, trying so hard to hold on to this payload, but Unknown Esports Blaze looking very strong. That barrage was actually so great, and this is something that I've noticed from this team. They're not like a lot of other teams that kind of wait to see, or rather like other teams that will swap off even if it means losing an ultimate. That's a Dragon Blade.
It is a Dragon Blade, but it's not going to do too much here because it's going to get bashed out and taken out of the fight by Zealot here. Mines now coming out from Zakir in order to just provide some crowd control and allow got a significant time bank on the clock, and we need to see Manhattan Project come back with something to be able to stabilize.
This is working so well for Unknown Esports. As much as they're throwing ultimates in every single fight with reckless abandon, Manhattan Project just don't have an answer for it. Because they're throwing out ultimates of their own, but they're still not winning the fight. But here's the rally engage, and hopefully that'll give them some kind of foothold here to try and, you know, stem the tide of Unknown Esports.
I mean, Zakir's wreaking absolute havoc into the backline, though, but so is this bomb from Dark Dagger. We're not going to be able to see the Sound Barrier save Aggression's life here, but we're still getting aggressive on the side of Unknown Esports Blaze. Despite not having the Lucio to be able to kind of help with their micro-positioning here, they're still rolling in strong, trying to take out whatever forces that they can right here. Zakir with another ground pound, just be able to get Manhattan Project off of their feet here, waiting for their Lucio to come back, but here's double support ultimate to save them from this bomb, which they can't do. Santi with a massive Diva Bomb to help Unknown Esports Blaze try to capture this point, and with this Transcendence on top of it, that's all but secured this point for them, and we've got a round 3 and 4 in our hands.
What an insane fight. Unknown Esports are... they are
coming out with. They're going to try to rely on that bunker composition that they utilized to great success last round. And Unknown Esports Blaze trying to shut it down, building up an EMP through Mass Blake.
They're going to need to build up that EMP faster. The last attack, it took them 2 whole minutes. They don't have 2 minutes to waste because they want to take the point and push the cart as far as possible. So they need to make sure that they can build up that EMP as quickly as possible and shut down this bunker. Hopefully they're going to make it work, but not if Quantum gets taken out of the fight that early.
Oh, yeah. At least you've got the Mercy Resurrect online, though, to be able to even up the odds here. Zakir doesn't miss the ground pound this time, but the Immortality Field is going to get procced. Still giving a lot of sustain to the Manhattan Project to keep this defense alive. Gotta be conscientious at the point, though. Santi trying to just wait behind in order to get some sort of flank, but back to the drawing board for Unknown Esports.
Yeah, they really tried to make it work there, and it looked like they had an opportunity to push in, but I think they kind of forgot about that Mercy res. You know, you raised your own Hanzo, and that's great. And once the Orisa went down, there was an opportunity, but of course, they had a Mercy of their own. When there is a Mercy on the enemy team, you need to be getting at least 2 picks in order to get any sort of advantage. But they're plowing a lot of damage into the shield, and the EMP is still only on 30% with 1.5 minutes to go. They're relying on this EMP. If they can't get the EMP off, they will lose this point.
Yeah, they're taking a little bit too long here from Unknown Esports Blaze. It's going to allow the tank form to come out, but that massive hack here from Unknown Esports, that's going to do a lot. Santi, though, misses the mark. It's going to force out the Dragon Blades here from Unknown Esports Blaze, but I think they're finally starting to make some progress here in Iori, because they do have Zakir and Zealot just absolutely putting in damage into the Manhattan Project, but they aren't able to deny the res onto Dallas. So now you've got the deployable Orisa shield back, and the streams that Unknown Esports Blaze has are starting to go up in flames here. They need to rely on a lot of ultimates, trying to get them back here. Oh, those Hammond Mines might have done it for them, but here comes Ritter with a big, potentially huge Riptire. Will take out the Wrecking Ball, and you've got 30 seconds now to make something happen.
And Santi is trying desperately to get something done in a fierce air battle with a Junkrat, would you believe it? Trying so hard to hold on to this point as he waits for the rest of his team to re-engage. That was quite an unfortunate engagement here, but here the fight continues with an early pickle from Hanzo.
Oh, excellent. You know you're going to see Sponge come back in from the Resurrect from Not Red Shell, but I think the numbers are too in favor for Unknown Esports, and there's the EMP right in the nick of time. It is going to provide a massive opportunity here for Unknown Esports to be able to take this first point, and in overtime, they cannot leave the cart now. This is going to be dire straits for them moving into Streets phase.
This is where it gets very difficult, and I just wanted to point out, you know, there was a great hack onto the configuration tank Bastion, and once he gets hacked, he goes back into sentry mode, which means that he's no longer in position. So that's really what did it for them to be able to create space and get some of those picks so that they could eventually take it on the second fight. Now they left the Zenyatta on cart so that they could send the rest of their team back to swap up onto this goat, because they realize they cannot leave this cart. They're going to death ball on this cart, but no, an early pick from Sponge. That's not what you wanted.
No, it's not, especially with the Diva Bomb thrown in as well. You saw Zakir switch over to the Reinhardt to be able to mitigate some of this damage coming in long range from the Manhattan Project. But if you're going to get caught out like that, that's not going to be good for your team. It's going to open up an opportunity for Ritter to go absolute justice here into Unknown Esports, and that might swing it just enough I think that that's going to be able to bully everybody off of the point here. Zealot with a Transcendence to try to keep the offensive dreams alive here for Unknown Esports, but it's Respawns coming in. Respawns are going to be a little bit favored to Unknown, but that's going to be it. Overtime finally wakes away. Round 4 it is.
And suddenly it was just, and he popped that Transcendence, and I thought maybe, but sneaking up into the, don't know how well this floats composition is going to work for them, but I mean, hopefully they make it work, because this is it. They need to win this.
I mean, Dallas is absolutely sought out what Unknown Esports Blaze was trying to hoodwink Manhattan Project with, but it isn't going to be enough yet. Oh no, but that's a massive opening here. Zakir getting taken out means that you don't have your front line now for Unknown Esports Blaze. It's just going to open up for the Manhattan Project to be able to dish out a lot of damage here, and that might be an all-she-wrote circumstance for this first point, but Unknown Esports Blaze is holding on for dear life right now, trying to save as much damage off as possible by going up into the stairwell here, but that provides a big opening for Ritter as well as Sponge to just kind of shoot damage into the stairwell, but they gotta try to eat off as much time off the clock as possible and try to get back in for a recontest, but Manhattan Project has this point, even with that pulse bomb there. This is gonna be their point, and they're gonna get that cart rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, you know, they tried to contest it out for as long as humanly possible and shave off that time. But Manhattan Project were really, they were having none of it. They have now raised up their Pharah. They are a full 6-man squad. And it doesn't look like they're going to waste any time trying to swap off onto a GOAT composition. They're going to roll through with what they have. They know that they don't need too far to push. They just need to hold them back. And with 3 ultimates online, including an EMP, if they can get a really good EMP here, they don't even need to worry about a second fight, because it could all be over with just this one next fight.
Yeah, I mean, Unknown Esports Blaze doesn't even have the support ultimates to be able to defensively deal with that, but there's the EMP, and there is the barrage here. Santi, though, being able to take out that massive force, and Ritter with just the defense matrix alone and flying into their face, but the damage has already been done here. You can't even see the sound barrier that just came online for aggression. Just a last-minute graviton here, but that golden rectangle of victory is approaching very quickly for the Manhattan Project, and we're going to tie up the series 1-1.
What a crazy series it's been so far.